this morning. Thank you for, sorry, for this afternoon. Thank you for everything that you keep doing for us. Thank you for the ISSN and everything you're doing in our midst. We pray that this webinar is going to be a blessing to everyone that is here. We pray that light will come to all of us. Anyone that is confused, anyone that is at a crossroads, by the end of this webinar, Lord, the information that is coming will give all of us light and it will show us the way we ought to go. In Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Once again, if you can hear me, kindly give me a thumbs up. If you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up so that we know that, yes, awesome. So Juliet can hear, Fafa, awesome. I think everyone can hear me. Perfect. So, without wasting too much time, we will quickly delve into the reason for the gathering today. So if you looked at the flyer, today we are going to be discussing from the perspective of people that have actually gone through it, people that were graduate students just like you, that were international students just like you, but have landed very wonderful jobs, were able to land very wonderful internships. They are going to be discussing their unique experiences with us. They're going to be giving us tips, as upcoming graduates. Very soon we'll have a lot of graduates. So that is the purpose of this gathering. And early on, I mentioned that this is a program that is organized by the International Student Support Network. So as you're going to be blessed by this webinar, at the end, if you would like to volunteer to work with the ISSN, to contribute to humanity, to make life easier for all international students in the greater Birmingham area, please just hit me up, just send me a little message in the chat, and I'll contact you and connect you with our visioneer so that you can get to work quickly. All right, so without much ado, I'm going to call upon Eddie, Dr. Eddie Williams Oredu to introduce our first speaker. We are going to dedicate a lot of time to question and answers. So quickly, we're just going to get into the presentations. So Eddie is going to introduce to us our first speaker, and he's going to get right into it. All right, Eddie, please go ahead.
Yes, so it is a great pleasure to be here and to also introduce our speakers. So the first speaker for today's talk is going to be Dr. Kweku Osei. So Dr. Osei got his Doctor of Optometry degree from Cape Coast in Ghana. And then after that, he came to UAB to pursue a PhD in vision science. So given that most of the audience on board right now are UAB students, I think it's going to be very important that we learn directly from someone that actually schooled where we are actually schooling. So after UAB, he went on to serve as a research associate at Bascom Palmer Eye Institute at the University of Miami. And then at that place, he served as the scientific director for its ocular surface regeneration program. So he's actually, transitioned very nicely, from PhD going into serving as a research associate, which is kind of more like in the academic world. And then after that, he realized that he really was interested in pursuing a career in industry. And so he joined Johnson & Johnson as the one of the global medical affairs managers. He is also a fellow of the American Academy of Optometry. So this is it's a high level kind of fellowship that you get if you are in the vision science world. So he's not someone to be played with. He's actually, achieved it all, and he's still achieving more. And he served on several important scientific review and leadership roles as well. So join me in welcoming Dr. Kweku Osei.
Thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, Doc, we can
Okay.
hear you.
All right, please pardon me. I have a few slides here, so let me share my screen quickly. Okay. Just let me know if you all can see my screen.
Not yet.
Okay. I hardly use Zoom at work, so okay. Let's see, I do on my screen. Okay. Stop sharing. Share again. This is two. You can see my screen now.
Yes,
Yes.
Doc, we can see it.
All right. Thank you so much. Glad to be here. Let me put myself on video. Okay. So happy to be here with you. Um, I was here at UAB. I think most of you know me. Was part of the fellowship, and after graduation, as I pointed, I was fortunate to land a postdoctoral role at Bascom Palmer in Miami. Was there for about 8 months, and I landed at my current role with Johnson& Johnson Vision. So, to speak on finding a job after graduate school, I think most of us on the call are either doing a master's program or a PhD program. And the content of my presentation will focus mainly on looking at the nuances between roles, expectations in industry versus academia, especially for those of us whose work are primarily research focused. So, as you can all see from my background, I've tasted the two sides, right? I started off in briefly in academia, and I noticed that I wasn't made for that area. So I quickly pivoted. And as we go on, you realize the need to be very adaptable in your pursuit of your career. Most often than not, we tend to already have some implicit biases and interest based what you want to do. But sometimes we may have our ideas, but nature also may have its own plans for us. So being adaptable, being flexible is very important if we want to really succeed in the post school world. All right, so I believe most of us here show by hand if you have decided on where you want to be after school, whether industry or academia. Remember that academia or industry is not the only role, it's not the only area we can be. We can be in hybrid areas, and we can also be the non-traditional hybrid, kind of encompasses both industry, aspect of industry, and academia. For instance, you may have a position in academia whereby there's an interface with industry. For instance, if you come to UAB, I believe we have an office of vice president responsible for industry relations, right? So this is an academic role, but it interfaces with the industry. So without wasting my time, I have only 15 minutes. Sorry, I kind of spent so much time on. All right. Um, all right. So as I said, most of us may end up in one of these two areas. So let's look at briefly what the focus is for each of these. Right. So academia focuses on a scholarship, right? So basically, if you have interest in kind of doing research, contributing to scholarship, then academia is your area, right? So basically, academia, there's prioritization of expertise, scholarship publication, long-term intellectual capacity, and mentoring. However, industry, rather, as the name goes, industry is hugely profit-driven, right? So whilst academia prioritizes what you bring on board, right? Your capacity to be very productive in the scientific world in the medium to long term, industry rather focuses on what you have accomplished and what you can really impact in the short term, right? In industry, there's no time to waste, right? It is hugely profit driven, so there's no time for babysitting. So there's prioritization on problem solving, your capacity to be able to solve problems, right? Your ability to collaborate cross-functionally. One thing we learn, you've come to realize that in academia, you are your boss, right? You can be very independent. Industry is not like that. So assess your skills. If you are someone who prefers to work independently, then you are better suited not for industry, but rather something else. You can never be a boss on your own in industry, no matter your qualification. You need others to be able to deliver. Okay, let's start. All right, so academia, the focus is that can this person build a sustainable research program, right? Because you want to contribute to research scholarship, right? They look at your potential, your potential to attract funding, federal funding. In academia, it's either you get funding or you perish, right? So they look out for all these things. Do you have the capacity to mentor, right? Do you have a reputation that you can really help to fine-tune the department to the outside world, like projecting the department to the outside world? In this industry, as I said, the focus is on your problem-solving ability, right? Can you work cross-functionally? Can you communicate well? Can you influence decision? Can you really adapt? Right. So these are things that separate the two areas. All right. Now, after school, we will definitely get into the job world, but there's one important item that all of us, you can never go without. That is a resume or CV. So we'll touch briefly on areas of emphasis, right? If you are someone who prioritizes academia, if your interest is in academia, then you want to make sure that your CV or your resume is tailored towards that area. For academia, more emphasis is placed on your publication history, funding potential, your teaching and mentoring experience, your service and leadership, right? So it's less about what you can do for the school, but it's all about the impact you bring on the side of research and the scientific scholarship. Industry is highly tailored, right? The focus is on impact. What can you do to help us win in the competitive industrial world, right? They want to assess, the hiring managers who want to assess how your skills can translate into measurable outcome, right? And also the CVs, usually um, industry hiring managers, they kind of use a whole lot of system. Unlike academia, which is more tailored, industry receives like hundreds or thousands of applications for single roles. So there always has to be a mechanism to kind of filter things out, right? So there's always a system that is used, which is the ATS, application tracking system. So that system is set up in a way that applicants or resumes or CVs that do not contain specific keywords that are really relevant to the advertised role are filtered out, right? So the CV must be adapted in a way that it kind of includes certain keywords as advertised in the job. This is not to say that copy the job description word for word and kind of adapt it to make it seem that you kind of have that experience. That's not the case. But the point I'm making is that make sure that there are certain important keywords that you really capture. For instance, one thing that I've learned that, like I said, since industry is highly collaborative, you want to make sure that certain expressions or like phrases like cross-functional collaboration, success, impact, all those things are kind of captured in your stuff. Then, before I end my slide and I move on to another area, let's look at what you call the star format. So, star format is heavily used by hiring managers in industry. So, in academia, it's pretty straightforward, right? Your CV tells who you are, right? So since industry academia is more about the research, the focus is on research, publication, grants, um, grant potential, mentoring, leadership, and stuff. All those things, questions related to your capacity, your potential can all be gleaned from your CV or your resume. However, in industry, it goes beyond what is presented on your CV, right? So hiring managers are interested in your situational awareness, right? In industry, more often than not, problems arise unexpectedly, right? And you should be in a position to kind of brainstorm and take actions that may have kind of very significant repercussions for business, right? So hiring managers are very, very cautious of this. They really want to hire you with the understanding that this person has a sense of situational awareness to be able to solve questions as and when they come up. So what is STAR? So STAR is an acronym for the S is situation, then the T is task, action, and also results, right? So I will give an example. In my when I interviewed for my Johnson and Johnson role, one of the star format questions that I was asked was that, Kweku, can you share with us a time in graduate school where you had to kind of go against authority? So that was the first part. And the second part was tell us why it happened, how you managed to resolve whatever the situation was, and what the outcome was. So I remember sometimes you need time to kind of put your thoughts together and all that, but I don't know, but the question was such that I had really experienced it in real life. So I didn't have to struggle a lot. And it had to do with an experience that I had in my lab, right? It had to do with I wouldn't love to go into all the details, but it had to do with an aspect of data analysis, right? So, sometimes as a scientist, you waste time, you spend all your night hours in the lab, and sometimes you want to get great results, right? Sometimes it doesn't go the way you want, and sometimes there could be a tendency for you to do stuff, but when that happens, you ask yourself, you look at a bigger picture. What if things do not go as you would expect, right? And sometimes the pressure is not just coming from within. It can even come from your boss, right? Your boss has spent all these resources, all these funds on reagents, on these experimental materials, and results are expected. So sometimes there could be that external pressure. So I guess most of you may kind of relate with what I'm trying to. It's not coming direct for obvious reasons, but so clearly my response to that question kind of bordered on scientific integrity, right? The fact that I was able to hold my grounds and not do something which would kind of go against what the data kind of spoke or kind of the data established. That alone, I guess, I don't know, but I had a feeling that I think the way I handled it really made an impact for me by way of the outcome, right? Um, they want someone who can be very firm when making decisions, right? So My ability to communicate that situational awareness, not to compromise on what is right versus what was expedient, was something that I guess really worked in my favor. So always when going for an interview, always have this that on your fingertip. 99% of the chance you would be asked. I interviewed before I completed school. I had tens of interviews, and none of those interviews was without questions on the staff format, right? Make sure you go into an interview well prepared, even if it is not something that you experienced, prepare for it. Draft something down because it will surely come up. They will definitely ask you, okay, there was a time in your career. Tell us what happened. Something that you had to do it the hardest way. How did you do it? What was the outcome? You should be able to speak to it. All right. So, Santua, how many minutes do I have left, if you don't mind?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Talk about 2 minutes, please.
All right. So I would pause here. I don't have additional slides, but the next two things that I want to touch on briefly, and I would quickly do that in 2 minutes, is networking. Networking is very important. I think I've spoken with most of you on the call on the significance of forming networks. Not any network, but meaningful network, and form the network in a natural kind of manner, right? It should be very natural. How do we network? LinkedIn obviously is the key area in the current scheme of affairs. You cannot go without LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn is a professional place for networking. Make sure you reach out to people that are within your circle, within your field, within your area of expertise, right? And whenever you network and you get that response, positive response, always stay in touch. Staying in touch does not mean you reach out to the person every day or every week. Check in like regularly. It could be monthly, it could be bi-monthly. What I'm saying is that we shouldn't wait until you see a role advertised in the organization where that connection works before reaching out to that person. It doesn't work, right? If that happens, it becomes like you are more or less like a you're a situational connection, right? It should be very natural, right? Let a person know that you did not connect because you wanted some favors. So let's do that. Networking is very important. And also, more importantly, you shouldn't apply for just for application's sake. When you're applying, we should apply for jobs that we really have interest in. That's one. And number two, always have different set of resumes or CVs tailored for specific jobs, right? You cannot use the same resume or CV for 5 or 10 different roles. No matter how similar the job titles may seem, every job has some uniqueness attached. There are always some nuances. So make sure CVs are always tailored. Usually, when it comes to academia, it's different because there's no way someone with ocular surface background is going to apply for a role in Eddie Williams lab, for instance, Dr. Eddie Williams lab. So one CV may work for academia, but when it comes to industry, make sure you have different versions tailored for different roles. I guess my time is up, so I will stop here. I had more to share, but I'll pause when it comes to the Q&A sessions. Perhaps we will be able to share more. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Doc, for all of that insight. Thank you for taking time to do this. We have learned a lot. And yes, there will be an extensive Q&A session. So anything you couldn't share, definitely there will be enough time to share all of that. So thank you once again. God bless you. Dr. Redu, could you kindly introduce our next speaker?
Okay. So finally, I'm very excited to be the one to introduce Dr. Cyril Nyanke. So Dr. Nyanke also got his Doctor of Optometry degree from Ghana, from one of the best, if not the best, institution in Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Then after the OD degree, he realized that, as anybody else with the clinical degree, he wanted to, practice for a little bit. So he practiced for 1 year, and then he realized that this thing is not really for him. And so he next moved to Harvard Medical School, where he completed a postdoctoral fellowship in the Department of Ophthalmology. And then I guess Harvard made an impact on him, and he wanted to continue in the field of academia. So he came to UAB again. He schooled here, so he has a lot to tell us. So at UAB, he pursued a PhD in vision science, where he did very well. He worked on cone photoreceptors and how they signal in the brain. And so after the PhD, he realized that, well, he wanted, to get into the industry world that they, just like Dr. Osei said, you may have, an interest in academia, but then fate will have you go somewhere else. And so he was able to identify this very early on. And I say this because I know, him and, the things that he had to do to get where he is now. So he actually knew this very early on, started doing internship even while in school, which is very impressive. And so after that, he joined Alcon, and he's currently contributing to their clinical development for the medical devices. And so far, he's been doing very great. And so I would like you all to join me to welcome Dr. Cyril Nyanke as he presents to us the final section of this presentation and the webinar.
Yeah, thanks, Eddie, for that wonderful introduction. I feel like I've already arrived, with the introduction. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So Senior Kweku has basically touched on everything, and since we do not have time, I'll try to just do a mop-up of most of the things he spoke about. All right. And so he was talking about the interviews. All right. And how I'm going to approach this is to basically present it in a way such that those who are currently in their early years would be able to take something from it. And then those who are currently on the job market will also be able to get something from it. And so one thing you should always realize is that when you're interviewing, you're testing both your technical skills and also um, your soft skills, right? You would notice that some people go for interviews and they'll be like, oh, they didn't ask me any question. They were asking me, I got this from someone at UAB that they were asking me only behavioral questions. You hear that word a lot, behavioral questions. And now when they ask you those questions, they are trying to test your ability to judge rightly. They are trying to test your ability to play or work as a team member, and also how you communicate. And so Sina Kweku was talking about the STAR method, right? So let me just give you an example. Sometimes you didn't get the question the way Senior Kweku asked it, right? They might go like, tell me about a time when you were working with someone, you had an idea, the person didn't support your idea, and how did you handle it? You get it? That would be the question. It's just broad, right? And so from what he was saying, you need to think about creating a situation, what that situation was about, right? What was the situation? You think about that, and then you think about all the things that you also did to contribute. So what you did to basically help with that situation, and then you also think about the results. What was the outcome, right? And so let me see if I can get a good example. Let's say with that question, I'd be like, oh, maybe at the time during my PhD, I had this excellent idea I wanted us to work on. I discussed with my PI, and he was like, no, he's not going to go with it. And so what I did was I decided to do his for him, and I also did my part, so that we'll be able to compare results. Then, so that's basically what I've done, right? Then the results, I'll be like, eventually, when we showed this higher up to my committee, that's my PhD committee or whoever, they realized that what I was proposing was the right way. to go about the problem, and we eventually got a publication out of that. So that will be your result, the outcome, right? So you want to think about that kind of approach in answering questions instead of just going ahead to just list things that, just think about it, create a situation, and then take it from them. Also, one thing you should also realize is that the PhD or what you're doing in graduate school will not automatically get you a job after school, right? Because if you look at any job description, you realize that they've written maybe PhD plus 0, MSc plus maybe 3, and then maybe bachelor's plus 6 or something, right? Most people would go for experience. Most hiring managers will go for experience. So if you have a PhD plus 0, but then there's a bachelor's plus 6 years, they would go for that person. So one thing you should have at the back of your mind is that when you're going for such interviews, don't be too focused on your PhD work. Think about the experiences you have and highlight those experiences. And so, for example, if you were doing like for your thesis or whatever you were doing, think of it in the form of project management. Think of it as a project, how you manage that project, how you prioritize certain things so you could meet deadlines. Think about those type of concepts and talk about those stuff, not, oh, I was doing genotyping and I was doing, no, not those stuff. Think about the overall concept of what that project was and then your contribution, whatever you were doing to make it successful. Talk about those kind of things. Another thing I'll also say is that in your PhD or your master's, try to use your first 2, 3 years to build on your skills, your skill sets. Try as much as possible to build something. I mean, if you finish 5 years and you've not added to your skill set, then you technically wasted your time, right? So think about building on your skill set. It can be anything, whichever field you find yourself in. It can be data analysis, programming, whatever. Just build on that skill set. And the transferable ones to communication, how you communicate, what Senior Kweku mentioned, working with cross-functional teams. And so with your PhD, an example would be, for example, working with people from different departments who have a whole different background from your background, right? You can say you work with someone from statistics to do something, you work with someone from the hospital, like a doctor, like whatever you did that you had people with different backgrounds that you were able to, get aligned on whatever you were doing to eventually get successful or get a good result at the end. Highlight those type of things. Think about those kind of areas. Senior Kweku touched on networking. One thing I would say about networking is not you just begging people for jobs, right? And when you go on LinkedIn, first think of where you want to be, where you want to get to. So, for example, you want to go to, let's say Apple, you want to work with Apple. If you go to LinkedIn and you type in Apple and you click on people, so you see when you type Apple, you get jobs and all those tabs up there. Click on people, you see people who are working there. You look at whatever positions they have. If it's something that you're interested in, connect with such a person. Just connect. When the person accepts your connection, you can just go into their DM, just thank them for the connection, and also just let them know that you're interested in what they are doing, and you'll be glad to talk to them about their role, to understand what they do on a day-to-day basis, because it looks like something that you are really interested in but you don't know much about. Just an informal thing. You might get a day to talk to them, you might have a meeting, and from there you start building on that connection. That's a better way to go about it than to wait. You see a job and then just reach out to someone that help me with a job, because the person doesn't know you. How does the person help you? How does the person trust your skill set to even recommend you? So think about it that way when we talk about connection. Try to keep it going. Yeah, and on your skill sets to also try. So I was talking about your first 2, 3 years building your skill set, and hopefully, let's say 2 years to when you graduate or a year to graduation, try to get an internship. The internship also should be in an area that you think you love, you are passionate about. It can be in industry, it can be in Dr. Ellen recently won a policy advocacy award, can be in policy advocacy, can be in a research institute, wherever. Just try to get your hands everywhere. It shouldn't be only UAB, because it's those connections that would eventually also help you to get where you want to get to. And then one important thing I'll also say here is your CV is not the same as your resume. Always remember that, And as Senior Kweku was saying, almost every job, even if it's for industry, almost for every job that you apply to, you need to redo your CV. For every job, you can't use the same CV for 5 jobs. It won't work because, like he said, there are certain keywords that you need to have in your, whether it's your resume or CV, you should check whichever one the job is asking for. And so, for example, if it's a resume, you will not list your publications, right? Because listing your publications may be one page. So if it's a resume, you just put a link to your publications there and the person can click on it. You rather focus on the things you've done, the results, right? And so for graduate school, for example, you know, write things like I wrote an IRB protocol to blah, blah, blah. Um, genotype, Now, you know, right, those kind of things. You think of the impact, the things you done, maybe those who have been teaching and all those stuff, led a project that whatever. So that brought in, you led a project that did this and culminated in maybe 5 publications. You leave it there. The next stuff. So you go in that order for your resume. Your resume should be just about a page, at most 1.5 pages. If it's your CV, then it can be that long. So always remember that. And when you're applying for a job, just know that, hey, if it's industry, you can't go with the academia format. It won't work. It will just not fly. They will not call you. Um, and let me see what again I have here. Um, yeah. Also, with when you're applying for jobs, if you realize that there's someone who can help you in terms of referring you, I'm sure some of our colleagues on this line will testify to that, right? Internal referrals also do work. And so you can reach out to people when you want referrals. Recently there was one lady, a friend I knew, who wanted to get to my place. I know her very well. I've known her for the past like 3 years. She reached out to me. I referred her, and God being so good, of course, March 3rd, she called me that by God's grace she had been given the job. So I'm going to be working with her in the same company. So always think about it that way, that referrals also work. And because it's just like recommendation letters. When you're in academia, someone is recommending you, someone is saying something good about you. And so usually people think referrals are just like you click a link and then you just put the person's name and the person is referred. No, that would be to the recruiter. But then there's a hiring manager, the person who really wants to hire. Um, a referral that someone wants to do for you because the person knows, you can reach out to the hiring manager and ping the hiring manager, write about you, tell the person about your skill set, etc. And then that would help get you where you want to get to. So yeah, basically these are the things I just wanted to touch on. If there are any questions, anything you want to know, please feel free to ask. Okay, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I have a question.
Hey, can you please hold on?
Okay. I thought I'm in class. Sorry.
Let's thank Dr. Nyake
Sorry.
first. Oh, Dr. Nyake, thank you so much for taking time to even prepare and to come and give us such a wonderful delivery. We've learned a lot and we are very grateful. God bless you. Okay, so now the floor is open for questions. So kindly just put your hand up. You can use the emoji.
Okay.
Then let's see your hand up so that we can see the order, and then we can call every individual. Okay, Mr. Nkoma, please go on.
Thank you, Asantewa, for giving me this opportunity, and thank you, Dr. Kuku and Dr. Yake, for this opportunity and presentation. Doctor, this one, it goes to Dr. Cyril. Regarding the CV and the resume, sometimes, especially with the nurses and other clinicians, you will get a position that is not a typical in academia, but you may be in an academic teaching hospital, and they will tell you they are looking for a nurse coordinator, a research coordinator, and it's like going to supervise and the training of interns. At the same time, you will be working in the hospital. So in that case, when you are preparing your CV or resume, which one will work?
All right.
Thank you.
Yes, so I'm sure Senior Kweku will also be able to help answer this, but you should mainly be interested in the job description, right? So whoever is trying to hire you, the person will have, like you're mentioning, you'll be training interns. So you think about it, okay, in my PhD, where did I do something where I was training people or I was mentoring people, or when I was working as a nurse, where was I doing something similar to that, right? So whichever section it will fall under, whether it's when you were working as a nurse. So let's say you were working as a nurse at UAB hospital in the past, right? And that you write the supervised maybe 5 students, blah blah blah, and eventually got them to maybe whichever, maybe medical school, something. I mean, so you always look at whatever the job description is, and
Okay.
you pick for everything that you are seeing there, at least for 90% or 80%, think of where something you've done
Yeah.
would have a kind of relationship with, and tie that into your experiences. That's why I'm saying that. So your CV and your resume shouldn't be the PhD things like I
Okay.
submitted IRB, deep
Mm-hmm.
data analysis.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care about data analysis. That data
Mm-hmm.
analysis there will not fly. It doesn't matter to anyone, right?
Okay.
You are not, because in fact, Sina Kweku will tell you all these departments or what is the name, companies out there, they have statisticians, so you are not going to do any data analysis for them. And so you having data analysis on your CV, it's big for academia that, oh, you can do that, but for industry it won't matter. So you look at those experiences that they want, what they have stated that they want, and you tie it into your different experiences or the different things you've done. You put them in there, and so that's how you approach it. Senior Quick, I don't know if you want to add to it.
Yeah, thanks. So you said it all. So the design of your CV is not based off the environment where you find yourself working. It's all about the role, the specific role. So CVs or resumes are kind of tailored to the roles, not the work environment. For instance, let's say you are a graduate student, you have a nursing background, and also have research experience by way of your graduate school work. You've amassed some publications, right? Let's say, remind me again, what specific role did you mention? Did you say,
Sometimes they will ask you, they are looking for a clinical instructor, a research coordinator, or a research nurse to
all
be in
right,
the
so
academic teaching hospital.
yeah, so let's look at these two. One, clinical and instructor. So clinic and instruction, right? So there's an element of teaching.
Yeah.
Right. So this is where you would want to focus, highlight more on your teaching experience. If you have any mentoring experience, these are areas for it, right? When it comes to, let's say, research coordinator, there's an element of research, right? So if you have done any publications, it doesn't mean you should list all your publications, but make some statement, do some bullet to at least draw the attention to the fact that you have done some research experience, you have some research experience. You are not going to be a PI necessarily, but I would be, if I'm a hiring manager, I would be more comfortable working with someone who at least has some research experience. At least the person knows how to design study. The person knows how to read research protocol and understand, even though your work may just be on recruitment, but having that additional layer of knowledge kind of helps, right? Versus someone who has no experience. So to answer you, tailor your CV or resume to the job, not
Okay.
to the environment where you are working. Thanks.
Oh, okay.
So
Thank
just
you.
to add to what Sina Kweku said, so on the last note, right? So like with your PhD, all that you've done, so you can write a point like you've been involved in the, let's say, end-to-end aspects of running a study, from study design, patient recruitment, because a study coordinator does all those type of stuff, right?
Mm.
Like recruiting patients and all that. So it's recruitment, data analysis, and then what's the name of that word? You'd say that also like communicating or whatever your research is to in publications or whatever, conferences, whatever. You just put all that together. That means that, oh, this person knows how to talk, this person knows how to communicate what they are doing and all that. So you would have to find a way to tie in your
Okay.
experiences to exactly what they are asking for.
Okay. So thank you very much.
Asantra, you are muted.
Sorry, once again. Thank you so much, Dr. Kweku and Dr. Cyril. So before we take Prince's question, kindly note that we'll be giving out 3 gift cards at the end of this webinar. So kindly stay tuned all the way to the end to be eligible to win one of those gift cards. Okay. All right, Prince, please go ahead.
Thank you, Asantua, and thank you, Dr. Cyril and Dr. Kweku, for this section. I wanted to ask, is it appropriate to connect to hiring managers on LinkedIn before maybe you might even be getting or trying to get the company job? Is it appropriate to connect to hiring managers on LinkedIn? So can I go first? Or
Yeah,
you want to go?
no, go.
Yes, I don't know you Cyril's perspective on this, but connecting after the job has been posted and you haven't already applied, can you clarify? Probably before you even apply, supposing I want to go into, let's say, Alcon,
Okay.
maybe I connect with the hiring manager for, oh, okay. I know, I think I know. So
Senior, he's not here,
I
so he will
think
not get your
he
answer.
just
He
dropped
dropped
off.
off, so he
Yeah,
will
okay.
not
so
get the answer.
the thing is this is being recorded, so you can answer and he can
Okay.
refer to
Oh,
it.
just shared. Okay.
Okay, so I'll go because it can happen either way. So I'll start with connecting because I've done that before. My one of my roles, I did apply. I was still at UAB, and I connected with the hiring manager at J&J before the recruiter even reached out to me on phone. So clearly, my connection with a person on LinkedIn was an afterthought, clearly. And these hiring managers are really smart, right? So you don't want to create that impression because hadn't it been for the job advertised, I don't think I would have connected with her. In fact, she did not actually respond to my request. And the only time that she accepted was after I had joined the company. That was 2 or so years before, after, right? So it may work, the person may accept, but remember that this person, even though he or she has accepted, there's that awareness that you're reaching out to connect is informed or is motivated by your interest in the work in the job. So it's not a natural kind of connection. Now, the other side, if what if you've seen the job, you've not yet applied, but you've seen the hiring manager name listed and you want to connect. Um, I think I would err on the side of my earlier response that ultimately, after connecting what next, you are going to apply. So there's still that level of um, artificial feel in the connection, if you ask me. So I wouldn't say it's not something I personally will recommend. And let me say this that you reaching out, you connecting does not guarantee that you get a job. That I can guarantee, right? So there's more to networking that gets one a job than just having that mere connection. So you can do that, but know the potential risk. Okay, so you want to add something?
Yeah, so just to also help, like, so maybe Prince might be able to understand. So Prince, usually when you see jobs, right, usually posted, sometimes, most of the times, it won't be the hiring manager that would be posting. Sometimes it will be the recruiter, okay? So you'd see that someone has posted it for the first time that they are looking for blah blah blah. If you look at their positions, you realize that they've written maybe talent acquisition and all those kind of things. That's usually the recruiter. You would usually not have the hiring manager's name listed unless the hiring manager has decided to repost that post. The post would usually not come from the hiring manager, has decided to share a post that I am hiring, I'm looking for someone, blah, blah, blah. So usually you not even get to know who the hiring manager is. It's someone who is internal, who is in the company that would know who the hiring manager is and would usually maybe want to tell you about the person. But usually you don't know, that's the first part. And like Christina Kweku said, every other part following, if you go add the hiring manager to connect, blah blah blah, I mean, how would this be a coincidence? It would be obvious that this is why you are connecting, and
Yeah.
so it won't really help you with anything. So what I'll tell you is this: if you think you've seen things that you are interested in late after school, there's nothing wrong looking for whoever you think is in that role if it's in medical affairs, wherever, you can connect with someone there. Usually it would be the directors who would be the hiring managers. Usually, I mean, for your like after school type of positions, it would be like a senior manager or hiring manager. So if you look on LinkedIn, see that the person is a director, manager, those kind of roles, they would usually be hiring people. So you could connect with such people. Just like introduce yourself. Oh, I'm really interested. I want to know what you do. I'd want to know a little bit about your role. It seems like a very interesting thing as I prepare myself, blah blah. They give you the opportunity to talk to them. You can start building it from there. That I would want you to mentor me, like tell me the type of things, experiences I should expose myself to, etc. And they build that network from there. Right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, doctors. Okay, so we have Nunaya. Polika, please ask your question.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Kweko and Dr. Siri, for your presentation. So I have two questions quickly that I want to ask. The first question was from Dr. Kweko's presentation. When you're talking about the question that around assessing your teamwork ability, how do you reconcile situation whereby they are trying to test your ability to work with other people and that you can accommodate working with them, and then maintaining a place of having integrity when you have to stand alone in some cases? That's the first question. And the second question, they always kind of like advise us randomly sometimes that one way of rising quickly or staying in a position in industry even when waves of like layoff come, which is very common in the industry, is to go for a job that you're overqualified for. What is your position about that statement or that kind of situation? Do you advise people to always go for a job that they are overqualified for to just keep them in a position, or to help them stand their position when people come to like lay off or things like that? Or what do you advise in those situations?
The first one was very clear to me. Do you mind rephrasing the second? Are you saying you believe that if you go for a role that you think you're overqualified for it, chances are that when layover
Yes.
rears its ugly head, you may be saved. Is that the point?
Yeah, maybe I can put it again in a different way. For
Okay.
example, maybe I finished my PhD and I want to go into industry. Sometimes some people advise for that you go for a job that you're overqualified for, so that like it will help you prove your expertise. It's so easy for you to like show your mastery in those little things, because of by quality and preparation you are more than the job. It helps
Okay.
sometimes, but sometimes it really do not equate to kind of like maybe compensation you're looking for. So how do you advise somebody in those kind of situation?
Okay. So I'll start with the second. No, so sorry, I keep calling you Eugene. Yeah. So showing mastery in a role is not really linked to your qualification, in all honesty, at least having experience both sides, industry and academia. So your PhD or your master's degree, like it kind of teaches you this like theoretical ideal situation kind of stuff. Then when you get into the real world, right? This is where your learning agility comes to play, right? So once you get in there, whether you get in with a PhD or a master's or a bachelor's, remember Cyril made a very important point that hiring managers, they even prioritize more experience to even the degree itself. So you're having a PhD, and are you applying for a role that a master's or a P or a first degree holder can also fit in, does not mean you're overqualified, right? In fact, it's possible that the one with the least degree qualification can be overqualified by way of the experience, right? And when you get your foot into the room here is the work, the work environment. What you came in with no longer matters, right? So PhD or master, it doesn't matter. It's about your output, what you are accomplishing. That's what matters. When there's instance of layoff, some people may be overqualified, some people may be more efficient. They may end up going. and someone who is not even doing well may stay. So layoff, they don't necessarily lay off people who are not performing. Sometimes it's like a business decision. Maybe sometimes they even want to let go of those who are the high earners, which may not necessarily have to do with your qualification. On the other side, being collaborative does not mean one has to compromise his or her integrity, right? So those two are not they are not necessarily together, right? So being collaborative, being your ability to work well, gel well with all manner of people from different roles and functions, um, is very important, right? But the fact that you need to gel with them does not mean you have to agree with them in all cases, right? So whereby you need to say no, you have to, and there's instances that you have to even say no to someone who is way, 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 way above you in terms of the leadership ladder. So it's just there's something we call being having a candid candor, right? Being able to speak your truth without any fear or whatever. So it is. You don't have to fear saying no when you have to, because it also fits into the sense of integrity. And no one will punish you for saying no.
Okay.
And if you always keep saying yes when you are supposed to say no, remember that those you are saying yes to, when you should have said no, they'll be happy that you are saying yes to them. But within them, they know that you are not credible.
And to add to what Senior Kweku is saying, so Polycarp, usually you see this term cross-functional teams a lot in all these job applications when they put it out, right? So you'll be working with a team, let's say in R&D, like the engineers, we're working with maybe statistics, medical writing, blah, blah, blah. You're all together as a team trying to work on a project, right? The first thing you should realize is in industry, every function is like a whole new company on its own. So those in R&D, it's as if you are dealing with maybe UAB. Those in statistics, it's as if you are dealing with those in Tuscaloosa. It's like a whole different organization, and everyone is looking for their interest. And so you being able to say no is actually even good because you're even fighting for your organization's interest. When I say organization, whichever function you belong to. And so I'll give you one example, right? So we were working on something in the past, and then um there was something we needed to do to submit to a regulatory body. And then one person in another team was like, we are saying that the device doesn't do this, so why do we even need to study it? It doesn't do it. Why do we need to? That person just wants her job to be easy. She doesn't want to be given any extra work that she needs to go justify why we should try to put that in there. If you go with the person and you do it when there's trouble, you'll be accountable. It will be on you. You are not going to share it with anyone. And so you being able to say no because you know that. And so with that case, for example, the data had showed that that thing can be added. It can do whatever we are saying it does. So I was actually pushing back. I sent an email, copied everyone, and then my director, who is my boss, came to me and was like, he hates me. Said, I really liked what you did to her. Because you are fighting for your interest, your function, where you belong to. So think of it as your lab. You are fighting for your lab. The other functions are like a whole different lab. Let's say you want to use the microscope. Think of it that way. It's like another lab. A function has booked it. You to your function, you need it, else your project will be delayed. So saying no is not a problem here. When they ask you those questions, they are trying to test your ability to not just say yes, no, but also to work as a team, like to work with people. They want to know how you communicate. And so if they ask you a question like, tell us about a time where you did not know something and how you went about it. Someone can say that, oh, when I didn't know that, and I went to Google, I went to watch YouTube videos, I want to. That doesn't mean anything, right? But okay, when I didn't know it, what I did was I decided to talk to my boss. So you're showing that you really can communicate when you need help. That who will be in this organization, who will be the best person to help me. And she told me that this is from the statistics department. So I should talk to this professor. I went, he sat me down and explained the concept to me and helped me build a program or a code. And that was what I was able to use to be able to finish my PhD. Then they realized that, you really know how to communicate, you know how to ask for help, you know how to go across to a different team to ask for help. So those are the things they'll be testing, not just you saying yes or no. So that'll be.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, doctors. So we are 1 minute late. So we will take one more question from Prince, and then we will bring this webinar to an end.
Thank you so much, Asantua. After demonstrating that you are fit for the job and everything, I want to know, in the US, do you negotiate for salary, or how do you go about it? Or it's just there that the money is there for you? So when you get a job, it's automatic.
Automatic money.
Cyril knows more about money, so Cyril will take this first.
So don't mind senior Kweku. So yeah, with industry, just even academia, you negotiate if you get a full-time job in academia. Even as a postdoc, you can negotiate your salary. Just that with postdocs, for example, there's a cap because it's a grant, usually if it's from NIH. So but you negotiate, but then there's always like a flaw, right? And think about it, everyone is looking out for their interest. I remember when I did my internship, one recruiter in one of the talks told us that know that no one is going to advocate for you. You are your own advocate. So whatever they are mentioning to you is going to help them. So think about it as performance. How do you rate the performance of a recruiter? You think of someone who gets us the best talent, someone who helps us save money, right? So she's doing her work so that her boss will see that, oh, she got us good talent, she saved all those stuff. That's what she's doing. So you should also out for yourself, right? But then, of course, you can't go and mention outrageous prices. If you mention outrageous stuff, I mean, that would be crazy. So do your search, usually on Indeed and all those type of websites. You usually get the range that would usually be reasonable. When you go on Indeed, let's say you are trying to apply for a role, maybe they say want a role at Apple, maybe as a research scientist. If you put in research scientist at Apple, you will see some numbers that would almost always be cutting across. You look for the experience. You have to be sure that whatever you are seeing matches your experience. For example, if it's saying senior scientist, that's definitely different from if it's saying maybe principal scientist, right? Principal is like way ahead. So you should look at it according to whatever your experiences are, and then be able to know where that reasonable um, number will land for you. But another important thing is, aside the money that they will mention to you, also don't look at just the money. Ask of the other incentives. Okay, ask about the other incentives. So there are things like bonuses. You get, I think they paid. I don't know if it's in Akweku, but they paid our bonuses this week. So they add bonuses. The bonuses is a percentage of your salary. They give you things like health savings accounts, they pay towards your 401k, they match you and all those. So ask about the whole package, not just the number they've quoted as your salary. And if you add all those things up and it makes sense, sometimes it's way better accepting it than going for a road that they'll mention a high number to you, but then you look at all the other packages and there's nothing there. But always, always, always negotiate for that one. When they come with their first number, at least you just add something little to it too. Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know if Dr. wants to add.
I think, Sarah, you've said it all. All I'll add is that never talk about salary or compensation before you are given the role, right? Usually at the interview, one of the questions that everyone usually will be asked is, do you have any question for us? Um, that is not the time to ask, oh, okay, so what is the salary expectation? No, you don't want to do that, right? And also, when the recruiter reaches out to you with a number, right? You have every right to ask before committing yourself to a number. Make sure you ask for the range. It is something that they will never hide from you. If you ask, they will tell you that, okay, this is the salary rate range for this role. So I always advise people that when you are given the role, make sure if they are really truthful and they give you the correct range, make sure your negotiation, you are not going below the midpoint, right? Aim something more than the middle point. And look at the other benefit, the fringe benefit as well, all very important. Yeah.
And also,
Always, there's always an opportunity to also negotiate your salary once you get in there. So what I always advise people is that getting your foot into the room is more important than your take-home salary, right? Because if you, like Cyril said, if you over demand, they may go because whenever they give you a role, they give you your offer letter. Someone else was also qualified, and that person has not been written yet too to be given a denier or a refuser, whatever. Usually they are waiting on what happens with you. So if maybe your demands are too high, they will just move on and go to the other candidate and all of that. So just be reasonable. And for instance, if you're a postdoc and you are taking 40,000 and you go into a role which is paying three times and you want to be given four times or five times, it's a win, even if they are giving you twice, right? I'm not saying you should go for twice, but just to let you know that sometimes you should be very reasonable, especially if you really want the job, really want to get your foot in there. If you deliver, always in my role, every year there is a compensation conversation. So if you think you've really brought so much to the table, it doesn't hurt to renegotiate. Yeah.
And to add to what Sinakweku said, so the other part is if the recruiter is asking you to quote your numbers, right? Especially you need it when you're looking for internships and full-time jobs. If they ask you, sometimes they will ask you to rather quote your numbers. Usually the approach I'll go with is, let me use my company. I'll say that I know Alcon compensates their associates fairly. My current interest is in landing this role. I'm sure I'll be compensated fairly. But then if you have any numbers, I want to hear. That's why Sinakweko is saying you want to hear their numbers. I want to hear your numbers. I'll never commit to mentioning any number there because if your numbers are already high, remember your first interview is with the recruiter. So the hiring manager doesn't even know you yet. So the recruiter has to get that squared with you before she passes you on to the hiring manager. And so on that first level, remember her job is also to get talent and save money. If you are quoting crazy things, she has about 1,000 applicants. She's just going there. You will not hear from her again. So, sorry, I'm saying her. I'm not being sexist. Him or her. So, you just have to be careful with that. Just tell them you are interested in landing the role. If they have any numbers you want to hear, though. Then, when they've come back to you, and then you are now like their first choice, because then the hiring manager has seen you, the team has seen you, and they've all agreed on the fact that you are the best candidate. So now they are looking out. They want you. You are the one they're expecting. Now the tables have turned. It's the hiring manager, the recruiter's role to be able to get you to them, And so that's why now you'll be able to, wiggle around and negotiate. Yeah.
All right, so that'll be our last question for the day. Thank you so much, Dr. Kwekose and Dr. Cyril Nyanke, for taking time to come and educate us this afternoon. We are very grateful. We've learned a lot. Oh, let's see more hands. Let us give them a huge applause for taking time to do this for us. We really, really appreciate you, and we say a huge God bless you. Right? So we've
Our
gotten
doors,
to
it's Sarah and myself, our doors are always open. Feel free to reach out if you want further clarifications on things that we've said, things that we couldn't talk about. Yeah, our doors are always open.
All right. Thank you so much, Doc, for saying that. We really are grateful. Okay. Yes, so the recording, I think someone is asking how we can get the recording. So it's going to be uploaded on YouTube.
Hey.
Okay. It's oh.
How do I put this?
Yes, so that everyone can have access to it. So we've gotten to the part where we announce our winners. So I put in everyone that came in here today, excluding our speakers and then also board members of the ISSN. And then I used AI to randomly generate our winners. So our winners are Sandra Owusu, Samuel Tabiri, and then Michael Mensah. So congratulations, guys. Sandra, Samuel, and then Michael, you have won yourselves some
Thank you.
gift
Thank
cards.
you.
So I'll deliver your gift cards. I don't know, Samuel.
Yeah, thank
don't
you.
know. Yeah, so Samuel, how will because I don't think I know you personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would have to probably drop my contact.
Yes, please
So,
do right now in the
all right,
chat box so that I can
sure.
contact you. Okay, all right, family. Thank you so much. God bless you for coming. We really are grateful that you came here and took time to come and listen and to be a part of this webinar. Until next time, stay relevant for Jesus and God bless you. Okay.